as it goes on, it just changes. It's not, I don't want to say easier, but you kind of integrate it into your life rather than it being the whole focus. It just kind of becomes a part of it.
Our TFMR stories. Hi, I'm Sabrina, the TFMR doula, pregnancy loss doula, and today we have Becky with us. She shares about her experience of multiple losses, all for a very similar condition called Hydrops. She chose to carry to term, and she also chose to terminate in different situations. Here's her story.
I'm Becky. I'm from Swansea in Wales. So my termination pregnancy was actually my second. It was our first was stillborn, sadly, from the same condition we ended up terminating for. After our first loss, I think I fell pregnant quite soon. It was 6 months after, and we weren't really trying, but we weren't avoiding it either. So kind of knew when it would be, and it was like my period was a day late, so I took a test and it was positive, and we were thrilled. You know, we want children, and the doctors had said it was quite unlikely. They were like, it probably won't happen again, because we had an autopsy on our first baby and they couldn't find anything wrong. They said it was a fluke, just try again, you should be good. So we didn't have any extra care in the pregnancy. I had a scan at 12 weeks, everything was fine. We had the blood test that checked for Downs, Pathos and Edwards, that was all fine. And it was the same as our first. It was at the anatomy scan at 20 weeks. The tech got all quiet again. And the baby, they diagnosed it with Hydrops fetalis, which is like it's the accumulation of fluid within the baby. It's not a condition in itself, it's more of a symptom of something else that's wrong. But the fact that it had happened twice, they said then it's definitely genetic. But up until then, my pregnancy was textbook. It was great. I felt great. I didn't really have any sickness. I guess, yeah, my favourite part would have been, I think, like starting to get an actual bump and feeling little flutters. And I think, yeah, just being like healthy all around. I looked after myself sort of anyway, but like my diet was great. I was kind of making sure I got exercise. I felt great physically, really. So that was my favourite part.
Yeah, and then you were already talking about the 20-week anatomy scan is where you found out something was wrong. So
yeah, so it looked like it was a carbon copy of our first pregnancy, basically. It said there was fluid where the lungs should be, so they hadn't developed at all. There was fluid under the skin quite a lot, which wasn't the bit they were worried about. It was the lungs. And there was a little bit in like the head, not in the brain, like but between the skull. So it was just kind of getting worse, really. It looked the same as our first. So we kind of talked about it beforehand, and we said like me and Reece discussed, we'd probably end the pregnancy if we had the same diagnosis. But to be honest, we thought we wouldn't. It won't happen again. They told us it won't happen again. So yeah, after that scan, we went into the quiet room. And then the consultant came in, and that's when he told us, yeah, it looks like this is definitely a genetic thing now. It's the same as the first pregnancy, so chances are in a couple of weeks the heart will stop it anyway. But he left it to us, and we didn't decide there and then. We went home. I think we gave it another week. We went back in for a scan, and it was maybe not worse, not better, but her heartbeat was slowing. And we had an amnio just to try and, just for diagnostic purposes. And it was a week after that, we decided we did want to go ahead and end the pregnancy. So it just felt like we were waiting for the inevitable anyway.
I'm so sorry about that. You know, that it,
Thank you.
You know, just
it's rubbish.
again and again. And
yeah. It was still, even though it happened before, we just didn't think it would happen again. It was a big shock, even though we knew it was a possibility.
Yeah, of course it's shocking. I mean, especially since the doctors had said it was a fluke. That's what they thought. Yeah. And then it happens again.
Yeah, like there was nothing wrong in the post-mortem. They said everything looked to develop normally, so it's just, they said maybe I caught something while I was pregnant, but they didn't really know. And they said unless it's genetic, it won't happen again, and the chances of it being genetic are very, very slim. So we kind of took that, and yeah.
You were given the diagnosis again, and then you went back in for another scan, and the results, the condition was looking similar. The heart was beating slower, and then you got an amniocentesis.
Yeah, we had the amnio. We were just kind of trying to do a few more diagnostic tests while she was another girl while she was still there, just to try and figure out a bit more. But the amnio came up here as well. Yeah, the week after we decided we didn't want to. We went into hospital. There was another scan again the week after that. So we went in for a scan. It was looking worse. The week after that, kind of the same, no change. It was just progressively the fluid was growing, and it was just leading towards probably another stillbirth. So we had to sign a consent form to say we'd been talked through everything. We knew, like we were of sound mind, we knew what we were doing. And I had to take a tablet then, but I think it stopped the pregnancy hormone. And then you go home for 2 days, and then go into hospital after that, for 2 days. And we laboured and delivered. I think that. There wasn't really any other option given to us. And I'm glad we did, because we got to hold her and get footprints and things. But we went in, and it's the same. What sucked is it's the same maternity ward as just the regular mothers giving birth. So it's just like these women like howling in pain, and then next to me, and I was just like, shut up, everything's fine. But it kind of is, because you'd have to take misoprostol then. So it's a tablet. This one you take orally, and then vaginally they put them in every few hours to try and start labour. And it happened quite quickly because it was my second birth. It took, I think, maybe like 4 or 5 hours, but Reese and I were in the room together. We had our own room, thankfully. And I don't know, we kind of was chatting for a while, and then I started taking the gas and air because I was feeling contractions. And then Reese had a bit as well, and then we were kind of like bonding over that, and it didn't feel real. It was really just bizarre. And I was kind of like, part of me was excited to meet her, even though she was gonna pass away within a couple of minutes, so she was still alive. But because I was 21 plus 5, so she was born alive. It didn't take long to give birth. I think once the contractions got quite bad, like 5 minutes of pushing, she was born. And she lived for about 2-3 minutes, and we kind of took in turns holding her, and it was obviously really, really sad, really kind of, it's heartbreaking. And she looked fairly normal, apart from being a bit swollen. So most of the fluid was on the inside, like it was the lungs that were generally the big issue. And we spent several hours with her after she passed away. We kind of, we got the hand and footprints and just held her really, and it gave us some peace. I'm glad we got to do that. It was still surreal. Most of it's still a blur. I just think there's an autopilot for a lot of it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. And how you said there was also joy there that you were going to get to meet her.
Yeah, and I remember we were going up in the lift together, and we both arrived. And we were going up in the lift, and we were both kind of like strangely, I was like, this is horrible, but also kind of like, and it was nice to hold her. It was just really sad that she didn't get to stay, but it was kind of sort of staring at every bit of her face, like trying to work out who she looked like. And she was just tiny. She was like fully formed, but just very small. And,
As you were making the decision to induce labor, you said they didn't give you another option because of does that have to do with the laws where you are? And is there a time limit? Were they saying you need to choose now? You need to decide now?
Not for medical reasons. I think there's a limit. It's up to 24 weeks here. But if there's something wrong, there isn't a time limit. So I think that's why we took a bit longer to get the diagnosis and trying to get some, answers before we actually went through with it. The doctor made it clear that there's no pressure. You can carry on. You can make this decision in a month, whenever it's there if you want to. Yeah, because I mean, the first time round when we got the diagnosis with our first baby, when you mentioned termination, I was like, no, I'm like, what? It just didn't compute. I was like, why, no? And then time went on, and then she passed anyway. And I thought maybe it would have been easier on us not easier on us, but it's harder. At that point I was showing, and everyone's like, oh, when you do, give her a boy. So it was it made sense the second time. We kind of knew the outcome anyway. There was still it's always that flicker of doubt though, even when she was born, one of my thoughts was, what have I done? Even though we knew it was just, we knew we couldn't work, but there's still what if it happened, she was a miracle. Yeah.
So with your first pregnancy, you decided to carry to term.
Yeah, because at that point we just knew it was just Hydrops, which can have hundreds of different diagnoses. So it could have been something horrific and fatal. I just hadn't really thought it through. I didn't think about it. I just thought if the baby survives, it'll be fine. It was just, I don't think we even had the tests for Down syndrome or anything in my first pregnancy. We were just totally oblivious. We just didn't think about it. We were like, yeah, that won't happen. It doesn't happen to me. Foolish ignorance. I just didn't consider it. Yeah, when it was exactly the same thing again, and it was just going week to week, just knowing what was going to happen, and still having people like, how's the baby? How are things? Because we'd announced by then. It was like, oh, I can't. Everyone was really supportive though. Even we were never secretive about our decision. Like most of the people I knew around who I worked with, no one's been judgmental. It was all kind of understood. If they didn't, they were quiet about it. No one's been openly rude or judgmental to me, which I appreciate.
Thank you for sharing that about how your community reacted.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing about the two different choices that were given, right? So carry to term or terminate the pregnancy. And you lived through both.
There were no interventions offered. I joined a Hydrops fetalis group on Facebook, and I looked online and was speaking to people. And it seems in different places there are interventions that can be done, but our doctors just weren't, because we didn't have a diagnosis. They didn't. I understand it now, but at the time I was like, shut up, save my baby, do what you can. But it made sense. They were like, well, we could do that, but we won't do anything unless we know what's causing it. So we knew it was genetic then, and they offered us whole exome sequencing on myself, Reese, and the two babies we lost. And then through that, they found that we both have different defects on the PASO1 gene, and then we both passed them down to our daughters those times. So neither of them had a working copy of this gene, which causes hereditary lymphedema type 3, which explains the swelling and the hydrops. From that diagnosis, we learned that most babies that make it to birth and survive the neonatal period actually do quite well and have quite a good quality of life. We got that information, and I didn't feel worse about terminating. I still think in that situation it was the right decision. She was getting worse. She was only 21 weeks. She didn't have any lungs. Her heart rate was dropping. I think it wouldn't have made a difference. It was quite severe. Yeah, it was still always niggling in the back of my mind though, and I didn't think I could. I didn't think at that point I could go through with another termination. I was like, I'd just wait it out and then deal with the stillbirth. But by the time we got that diagnosis, hereditary lymphedema, we were pregnant again. So we fell pregnant after our second loss, Beth, our termination. We fell pregnant in like 2 months. It was really quick. We weren't thinking, just desperate to be pregnant again. Just really, just mostly hormones, I think. It just didn't really take the time. But yeah, we're pregnant with our third. Same thing, we were having more ultrasounds this time. We had better care. But then we had a 17-week ultrasound. It was just after this ultrasound that we received the hereditary lymphedema diagnosis. But 17-week ultrasound, the consultant was looking over and he went a bit quiet and he was like, I think I can see the start of the hydrops again. And I'm like, oh no, come on, like, give us a break. So yeah, the day after that, the geneticist from Cardiff, the next city over, called and then told us this is what it is. So then we looked into the condition, and it did seem that the baby survived past the neonatal period. That's the risky bit. They have quite good quality of life. They're mentally normal. They do need to wear like compression stockings and things, but they can still run and play. And like Reese was still in 2 minds whether he wanted a medically difficult child, but I was leaning towards continuing. It seemed like it was a good quality of life. It was, you know, I spoke to a doctor in London who treated patients with the condition, and she said she was quite positive, and she said, yeah, they seem quite happy, they lead full lives. So we decided to go ahead, and we had more scans. There was still no interventions, nothing they could do. But Hazel's hydrops seemed to be milder. So even though she had the same genes, it was a milder form. So her lungs developed better. She just seemed to have a milder form. So we thought, okay, this could work. And then it carried on. I started getting really, really big. I had polyhydramnios. So I had like way too much amniotic fluid. I was like measuring 40 weeks, like 30. And then she started to get, as I got into the late 20s, I think it was like 26, 28, she started to gain fluid in her stomach. It was around her lungs, but she still had the lung tissue. And I got to about 30 weeks and I went into hospital. So I was like, I'm so uncomfortable. Can you just tell me everything's okay? And they hooked me up to that machine where they test the baby's like heartbeat, whatever. And I was having contractions, but just because my stomach was so tight, I had no idea. So they kept me in for a week, gave me steroid shots for her lungs, and she was born by C-section at 31 weeks. That was as far as she got. And then she went, straight to the NICU. She was intubated. She was doing well at first, it seems to be. She was very, very swollen. I think she was something like, I can't remember exactly, 8 pounds something at like 31 weeks. So it was really big. And she started losing the fluid, but it was just a vicious cycle. It would go back up and down. And after a little while, like the doctor said, it's 48 days she lived in the end, but they said again, there's not much we can do. She was on a lot of morphine. She had, I didn't want to keep putting her through like medical procedures to keep her alive, so we took her off flexible eventually. And it was going through that totally alleviated all of the guilt I had about my termination. I was like, I know usually you'll never know, there'll always be that what if, but like we know for a fact now this is a fatal condition, and we did absolutely what was the best thing for that baby. I mean, Hazel, I'll never regret trying to give her that chance, but I will never, ever carry another baby with this condition. So
I'm so sorry about Hazel.
Rough, really rough. But again, there were moments of that were beautiful as well. She was, they kept her like peaceful, happy. She was on a lot of painkillers because her skin was kind of quite stretched because she was swollen.
Mm-hmm.
And it was going up and down, but I got to hold her a few times, and that was nice.
How has the grief process been for you through all of these losses?
I've been okay. I've got a very good support network. So like my mum's amazing. Like my friends are brilliant. Reese has been great. He breathes in his own quiet way, but he's there. Like he doesn't really like talking about it so much, but whenever I do, he will talk to me. But if I bring it up and we're out in public, there's other people, he's like just wants to get out of there kind of thing. But yeah, and the community as well. Like I run a pub, so it's a really local pub, and everyone's good friends, and they all knew, and they've all been just amazing. Yeah, and after Hazel, I got some counselling. I finally got brief counselling, which was, and I wish I'd done it sooner. It really helped. And I found reading a lot of books about baby loss. And the ending, I went on the pregnancy website. I found that just from looking online, looking for people who've been through a similar sort of thing, just wanting to connect. It's very lonely. It's really lonely. I knew women who had abortions, but not for medical reasons, or not for the same reasons as me anyway, and not so late.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was I've got through it. I'm still in it. It's just happened in the last 3 years, so it's all been very quick. So we lost Hazel last March. We really had a lot of time to. Yeah, taking a lot of time together. I stopped working as much. I used to be a restaurant manager. Stopped. I was like, I'm not spending all my time just stressing out, doing 12-hour days. It's just not worth it. I slowed down with work and just spent a lot of time out as well. Nature really helped me. I've got 2 dogs, so they have to be walked. So even when I really just didn't want to get out of bed, I had to for at least an hour. And it helped. It helped.
You found all these different ways that help you.
Yeah, like meditating. I spent a lot of time just sitting in my room Googling. Yeah, it just feels good to connect with other people and time.
Yeah. Can you talk about that?
Time.
That's a big one, right?
Yeah, it's a biggie. Just how I feel about everything and how it's changed over time. Like when you're in the midst of it, it's impossible. Time's endless. Every day is so long, and there's nothing else surrounding you, nothing else you want to do or think about or anything. And then as it goes on, it just changes. It's not, I don't want to say easier, but you kind of integrate it into your life rather than it being the whole focus. It just kind of becomes a part of it, and then the parts of your life grow, or that bit kind of shrinks down. It's still there, it's always there, but it changes.
Yeah, it's like time is it's around the process that you're going through.
Yeah.
And you also wanted to talk about how it's affected your relationship with your partner and also his grief.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it enough at first, I don't think. Again, he was very closed off. He just wanted to get on with it. He'd get out, he'd go back to work, just keep busy, don't think about it. And I was like, heartless bastard, come on. But it was just his way of dealing with it. And it was only when we sat down and talked about it that I realized he was just dealing with it in his way. And it was so his experience was different to mine. Obviously, I went through it all physically, but I think he felt like failure to protect, almost like he's the one supposed to be looking after us, and he didn't do that. And even though it's not his fault in any way, he felt like he let us down. It was hard to drag that out of him. I just didn't want to say it at all. But we're closer for it now. It was really hard, really difficult, but we've spent a lot more time together. We've put time aside to just go away for a couple of days here and there, or spend days together instead of just getting lost in work and just kind of passing ships in the night. I'd say we're stronger for it, but it could go either way. When you're in the throes of grief, it's important that we give each other the space and the time and the patience to work through it ourselves and together.
So you both made a conscious decision to take time together to process it, or just being together?
Being together, not necessarily like talking about the losses or. Yeah, after our termination, we went away because it was on the 2nd of June, and my birthday was on the 18th, my 30th, and I don't know. We'd already booked like a couple of days away, and we thought we'd go anyway. It was way too soon. It was just really sad. It was just being miserable somewhere else. But it was still. We talked about it then. We were in this little cabin in the middle of nowhere, and because it was just overshadowing everything. We talked a lot about it there. Around the days, around the mundane stuff. It's like, should we go to the beach? Yeah, cool. Why? It's just really miserable at the beach, okay? Yeah, so we took more time to do special things together as well. So yeah, not necessarily talking about the loss or dealing with it, but just time for each other. And a lot more like patience, because I found myself very, very snappy for a while. After that, just like I had no patience for anything or anyone, and I kind of had to appreciate that. Well, most people would just go, "All right, she's going through something." Like Reese was going through it as well, so he also didn't have much patience, and then that can easily escalate into a fight. But we had to kind of go, "Well, hang on, this is grief, okay? We don't mean this. Like, I don't care that you didn't wash that mug."
Right. But you realized it, in the moment, and both of you together.
Yeah.
So that's really powerful.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, it's realized we do that. We're strong. Yeah, we're going to get married next year. We're going to get married this year, but then COVID put stop to that. So
oh no.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, but congratulations.
Thanks.
Definitely. Yeah.
So that's something nice to plan.
After all of these losses, did you talk about trying to conceive again or having another pregnancy?
I'm pregnant now.
Congratulations too.
Thank you. It's so it's about a year after we lost Hazel. We were gonna we discussed it. We said we'll give it at least a year. We'll get married, we'll do the honeymoon, and then we'll try again then. Because we were gonna do IVF with PGD, but our funding got refused.
Oh no. How in your case? How?
And then it turns out it was just a stupid clerical error. They've since said, "Oh yeah, sorry, you can't have it," but that was a bummer. But yeah, we discussed it and we thought, well, if we try this month and it works, it'll be a shot. If everything works out, I'll have a 3-month-old at my wedding, which is going to be difficult, but great. That's what we want. So we fell the first time of trying, which was first month trying, which is it's good to know you can fall naturally. A lot sicker at the beginning of this pregnancy. It started off as twins, and I went in for a scan at 8 weeks, and it's just one hadn't developed. It was very, very small. There was no heartbeat or anything. So that was a bit weird. So, but we've still got one baby growing in there. I had a CVS last Tuesday to look for the gene, so we're just waiting about 1 or 2 weeks for the results, and then depending on those, if this baby's affected, we'll have another termination. Because I cannot put another baby or us through that the horrible ending that he's at.
Oh wow. Yeah. So how many weeks along are you right now?
Coming up to 14.
14.
So we should have had the CVS at 11. Again, the first scan I went into, I thought I was 8 weeks. I was measuring 6 + 5, so already terrified I was going to miscarry. Went in 2 weeks later for another scan. I was 10 weeks, so they just measured it slightly wrong. So everything was fine. But then by the time we booked into the CVS, I was 13 because COVID meant they were down to only there's one person. I had to go to the next city to get the CVS. There's one guy that can do it. So
wow.
So thankfully he did, and everything has been okay so far. There's no signs of miscarriage, so that's a relief. But now I'm terrified every time my phone rings.
Yeah, terrifying.
Yeah.
Of course. with your history and then
Mm.
with coronavirus
Yeah,
and now
probably
in
not.
waiting for these results.
Yeah, I mean, coronavirus hasn't, it's affected us here, but Swansea's been, like, I don't even know anyone that's got it. I don't know
Okay.
anyone that knows anyone. It's really, it's barely touched us, like, which is, it's nice, but it also makes it doesn't feel real. Like it's, when we're following social distancing, we're all doing it wearing masks in shops, but it's hard to, there's a lot of people who just don't care because it's not real, but it is.
Oh yeah, it's just not prevalent in your area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just strange. There's like, I think there's like 2 cases in hospital at the moment in my city. We just, like, tourism is big again. They just opened all the borders, so I mean it's coming. Yeah, I run a pub, so it's quite hard to avoid other humans.
Wow.
So it's been a concern, but I've got staff doing most of it, so
Yeah.
you can hide.
It's just another layer on top of what's already a
Yeah,
stressful pregnancy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, just waiting on those results, and yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah, we had an NIPT blood draw at 10 weeks to look
Okay.
for Rhesus gene,
Uh-huh.
and it came back positive for Rhesus gene. So, but they did say because of the vanishing twin, it could be skewed. Fingers crossed that was wrong, and the CVS comes back and it doesn't have mine.
Oh wow.
So it's supposed to be a like 25% chance. It's a recessive gene, so we both have to pass it down for baby to be affected. So it's supposed to be a 25% chance each pregnancy, and we've had 3 in a row now. We don't know about this one, but
Wow.
yeah. I think if this one ends up being affected as well, we'll go with IVF just to try and rule it out.
With IVF, they can do genetic testing on the embryos, and then they
Yeah,
can they find this gene in that procedure?
yeah. It's it's mad. The embryos are like 5 cell thick, something really tiny, and they take one, and they can find out from that. But I think it'd be like a normal IVF procedure, so they need to make eggs, and then the embryos would be sperm, and then however many you get, they test them and then let us know before they implant. Sounds like a long and scary process in itself, but if if it will save this waiting and testing.
Wow.
But yeah, by the time we get the results of the CVS, I was hoping we'd know by the time I was like 12, 13 weeks, but I'm coming up to 14 now, and it might take another week, and then yeah, it's taking a bit longer than I'd hoped.
Probably because of COVID.
Yeah,
Would be
I'm
holding
really,
it up.
yeah, just keeping busy. I found, just not thinking about it, watching a lot of trash TV.
Yep. All the self-care
Yeah,
activities. Yep.
yeah, lots of cheese toasties. Should probably ease off the cheese.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that, and
Okay,
I'm so
thank
hopeful
you.
for you. So hopeful.
Me too.
How do you continue to integrate your grief as time goes on?
I talk about the girls quite a lot, not as if they're alive, but in conversation, I'll put them in there. Especially like people who know me now just kind of expect it. If I see a new mother with a toddler or someone talking about pregnancy, I'll weigh in. I'll talk about it as well. And then I'll try and let them know I've lost the baby before they put their foot in it. Yeah, I just kind of they're still there for me. They're still my children. It's just I don't have them. So yeah, I think that's how. I've still got like their ultrasound pictures on the shelf. We still have their ashes. We're going to scatter them one day, but we're just not quite there yet. We don't really know when, but there's no rush. I think Reese wanted to get like tattoos, I think, but he hasn't decided just what or where yet. So yeah, they're still very much part of our lives, really. My mother mentions it quite a lot, which is nice. Yeah, that's how we deal with it. We still acknowledge that it happened. It's there. It's a huge part of us, and it always will be. So can't carry it.
Yeah, you acknowledge and celebrate their existence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also you as a mother, so you're acknowledging and celebrating your motherhood.
Yeah, I'm still a mother. I spent like 80 odd weeks pregnant so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoy pregnancy, and one of those matters of just everything, apart from like a bit of sickness and being bloated. Generally, I really enjoy it. Just like it to ending a baby when they can take home.
Yes.
But it'll be amazing when it does happen.
I'll be here cheering you on, and so excited.
It'd be great, but try not to think about it too much. Don't let myself get too far ahead. Like, I haven't bought anything yet. Obviously, just kind of we'll just wait. I probably won't until they're born. I'll have one onesie. Get everything there.
Right.
Get everything then. Looking back on who I was 3 years ago and now, I've changed totally. And how I feel about my first loss is totally changed. I'm still really sad about it, but I can talk about it normally. It's just like it's what it happened to me. This is, and at the time it was utterly devastating. I just did not see it coming. It's not like it wasn't easier the second time or third. They've all been totally different. But I just feel a lot stronger. There've been times when I haven't, but kind of now, kind of coming out the other side, even though it's still very fresh, it is still very recent. I feel like, if I can survive this, I'll survive anything.
Yeah.
I'm positive, I feel stronger. Accepting of other people. Judgy. I kind of always, if someone's been a dick about something, I'm like, there's probably a reason for it. Because I know when I'm doing it, if I'm acting out, I know it's not. It's like I'm not this much of a bitch. It's just I'm sad instantly. So usually, if someone else acts out now and give them a break, there's probably a reason for it. Other than being a dick.
That's just made you think about the invisible burdens that we all carry around.
Yeah.
What that person could be going through. You never know. Like your story.
Yeah. So give people a break. Yeah, you've got no idea.
What's something that you would say to someone who has recently lost a baby or gone through termination?
Just be gentle with yourself, and like whatever you need to do is okay. Like if you don't feel bad if one day you don't feel just totally sad, it's okay. It'll come back. But there'll be days that aren't as bad as others, and that's fine. That's okay. If you need to eat 500 litres of ice cream and cry, do it, whatever you need to do to get through it, and don't judge yourself for it. Give yourself a break, mostly.
Thank you so much, Becky.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming on and talking to us today and sharing your story.
I was really nervous, but it's nice to talk about it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.
Thank you so much, Becky, for sharing your story with us, and I would love to hear from you. Would you like to share your story on our TFMR stories? You can contact me. I'll put my email in the description box below. And I also have a free journaling prompts download that you can pick up. Journaling prompts for pregnancy loss if you'd rather process your grief after termination in a more private way. And if you're looking for more personalized one-on-one help through your grief after termination, I also have a Bereavement Care Package, which is full of great energy work and journaling and art that you can work on your own pace, along with texting support from me. So check that all out in the description box, and I'll see you next week.